What is up, guys? I hope you've all been well. Welcome back to the channel, and the reason I wanted to do this video is because I watched an amazing documentary last night about one of my favorite bands of all time. I first got into this band when I was 15, I think, and I remember just really good nights of really late night screenplay writing and listening to this band because Blink-182 recommended them. The band is Descendants, and the documentary is called Filmage. It was a very interesting story about how one of the most influential punk rock bands of all time formed and how they broke up and then got back together and how they're still touring today, which I find awesome since all of them are in their late 50s by now. Notice that in the early 80s and late 70s, all the punk rock bands, which I absolutely love them all, they're all kind of the same. Like the Subhumans and Black Flag, Adolescents, Dag Nasty, stuff like that, which I love all those bands. But the Descendants had something different. They didn't like really dress up, as I said in the documentary. They just came in with t-shirts and jeans, and they were almost kind of nerdy, which kind of made them underestimated to most people. I really enjoyed the story about how they grew up listening to the Beatles, so that influenced the melodic parts in their songs, which are mostly punk rock, but they have that melodic taste to it, which really makes it a very unique sound. What I really expected this documentary to be about was the lead singer Milo Aukerman, who was just like a fanboy who eventually started singing for them, and he still sings for them today. But mostly it was about the drummer, Bill Stevenson, who's one of my favorite drummers, but this really showed me how much he went through, where he didn't have a very good dad, and he had literally like a 1.5 foot long blood clot going into his lungs, and a brain tumor, so two things he should have died of, he didn't, and he's drumming better than he ever did today. Also, I like how there's this band that I like called Red Fang, where they're kind of like nerd metal almost, where their music videos are cheesy, they're kind of into fantasy and stuff. Where I feel like Descendants are like the nerd punk, where the lead singer he actually left the band for a while to become a scientist. Where this documentary, it wasn't just about Descendants, but it was about the band that everyone else formed without Milo called All, where it was the original dude, so it was Bill and Carl, who is still playing bass for the Descendants today, and sadly their old bassist Tony died in 2008, and Stefan. And they had guys coming in and out, I can't remember all the names, but it was almost kind of a hectic mess. Almost, so I like their music, but it wasn't the same without Milo until he came back and they made Everything Sucks, which is one of their greatest albums. And they were pretty much, as Mark Hoppus put, the bassist for Blink-182 in the documentary, they were pretty much the start of pop punk, which is like punk rock, like the hard part of punk rock, mixed with melodic tunes. Where that's what Descendants did first, where they were more punk rock, I think, but they were the huge stepping stone to all the bands you hear today, like Machine Gun Kelly and Kenny Hoopla and Mod Sun. So all of those guys probably grew up listening to Blink 182 and Sum 41. Blink 182 and Sum 41 grew up listening to Descendants, and Descendants pretty much started that entire genre, even though they didn't know it yet. I don't consider them a pop punk band, but they were that massive stepping stone to be able to create that kind of genre. So overall, it was a very interesting documentary. I highly recommend it if you're into documentaries that really get into the nuts and bolts of why the band was formed. And also, if you just want to know more about one of the most influential punk rock bands of all time, and if you wanted to get into punk rock but you haven't really yet, Descendants are the first band that I recommend that you listen to. So guys, thank you much for watching this video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and keep watching movies.